Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another live episode of MoMM at Home, our interview series here at the Museum of Making Music, where we invite artists, music makers, music retailers, and more, and talk about their careers, their impact, and their general lives of what it means to be connected to making music. On today's episode, we welcome Robin, Sassi, and Kimberly Deverell of the San Diego Music Studio. They're one of our local retailers here, and we're so excited to have them on here. We're going to talk about their award-winning music store they've established here in Southern California and the impact they're having on their community as well as the music products industry. Let me tell you a little bit about the San Diego Music Studio. They started in 1994. It was a small in-home business in downtown San Diego, and today they're a robust music retail operation. They got sheet music instruments, pro instrument repair facility, and they are well known for their advocacy, their community-based programs, extensive lesson program, and personal story. I was just talking with Robin and Kimberly. I had just met the band director at Carlsbad High School. I'm a band dad, and we were hosting a competition up here in Temecula, and the Carlsbad High School, they pulled up with their marching band trailer into our parking lot, and it has a giant San Diego Music Studio logo on the back of the trailer and the sides. Oh, it's all over the place. And I talked to Peter, the band director there. I'm like, you won't believe this, but I'm having an interview with Robin and Kimberly, and he was just so excited, so enthusiastic to hear about it. He's like, tell them hi. I'm so excited for you guys, and I'm excited also to welcome Zach Phillips, the Director of Professional Development of NAMM, who's going to be guiding our interview today with our guests. Welcome, everyone, to MoMM at Home. How are you doing today?
DJ, that was great.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you. Let's get started. Zach, Robin, Kimberly, take it away.
DJ, thank you for that. I don't know if there's much left to be said with these two industry luminaries, but it is an honor to be here today with our friends, Robin and Kimberly. I think our big challenge today will be filling everything into 1 hour because there's so much to discuss, and we're lucky to have them here. Robin, Kimberly, great to see you both. Thanks for being here.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Zach. Again.
Always a pleasure.
I was going to say, we're overdue for a lunch. You're both part of, obviously, San Diego Music Studio. Robin is the founder and owner. Kimberly is the director of music education and advocacy. And what I think is fascinating is that you both demonstrate this idea that, especially in our industry, music products and sound, there is no straight career path. We sort of move into different things, fall into different things. Robin, I'm going to start with you. Why did you open San Diego Music Studio? And maybe just as importantly, why did you go back and get your law degree?
Oh, that's a long story.
Talking Reader's Digest here.
Yeah, okay. We'll do like a Cliff Notes version here. Well, I started off teaching piano privately, and then things kind of evolved from there because students need sheet music and everything. And then I started an in-home service where I had teachers going out and teaching students. But I have to say the primary reason I got into this industry is I knew I always wanted to have a family, and I wanted to have a career and a business where I could take my children. And growing up doing a lot of dance, a lot of the dance teachers did this in their dance studios where they would teach dance, and you'd see some little playpen or bassinet in the corner where their baby would be sleeping. And that's where I got the idea that the music studio was based off of a dance studio. It's sort of a similar concept. So it was primarily because I wanted to have a family-centered life. Yeah. And then later on, I decided to go to law school. I felt like it was a calling, and it was one of those things where your 80-year-old self is telling you every night, you should have gone to law school. You should have gone to law school. And so finally I went to law school just to shut her up. And I told Kimberly, I think 2 weeks before I left, she wasn't too happy.
She dropped that ball on me.
I know, it was a pretty scary time. It was a scary time. But
What's
Kimberly,
so fascinating, Robin, though, is this idea that it was founded in part because you really wanted to be able to, be a good parent. And I think about how much that very spirit, in essence, permeates the business too, because you have so many families coming in and out of there. So it's interesting, these things that directly and kind of indirectly impact our business's mission and even customer base. That's an example of it. Certainly kind
I
of
have
part
memories of her children being at the studio as babies in the bassinet while she's teaching lessons.
Right. Or
So-
on my hip, as because one would never stop crying. She was on my hip the whole time. That was tough.
Wow. And you went back to law school. That takes some incredible energy and determination. Kimberly, speaking of different roles, your role has changed quite a bit at San Diego Music Studio since kind of when you started. And I think there's just a fascinating career lesson here in terms of finding it maybe a need in an organization or even in an industry and adapting the role to that. What did you do when you started and kind of what do you do now?
Yeah. So I was 17 years old when I first started working with Robin. And initially we did after school music programs. So I was assistant teaching piano classes, like 45 minutes, turn and burn.
There was like 12 kids.
Teaching them theory, circle of fifths and all that. And then we decided not to do the after school programs anymore and to focus on the business in-house. So then I started clerking at the store. And then I started teaching the piano classes full time. And then when Robin finally decided to go to law school, that's when she, unbeknownst to me, made me manager.
You were manager before that. You were, but this is you really became manager.
Yeah, I really
didn't. No choice.
I did not have a choice.
Yeah.
I always say it was a sink or swim moment, and I went swimming. And so I really stepped up and managed the store from there, from day to day. And then, every couple of years, I sort of just have reinvented, my job title here based on where I want the studio to go. So I look at the business. Okay, where can we grow? Right. I work on this part a little bit and I make it strong and it's rocking and rolling. And then I'm like, okay, let me shift my focus. Where can we improve? Where can we grow? Because you always want to grow your business. So I've just sort of every couple of years I shift my focus and I put my mind to what I think we need to do to grow. And so now I'm at the director of music education and advocacy, and I'm really happy here.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating to see you. I mean, you do a lot within the industry too. You're on the NAMM board. You're involved in a lot of different initiatives. And
Yes.
I don't know if either of you listened to How I Built This with Guy Raz, the famous NPR business podcast. It's very good. I recommend it to anybody who's watching. But I think of How I Built This. There's a business lesson here too, because I think of how much you're contributing to the industry now, Kimberly, and the fact that Robin laid out sort of that runway for you as well.
Yes.
Finding the right people, but then also making sure you're allowing them to constantly develop their careers in a way that serves the organization and their career path. So I think it's a fascinating story, and kudos to both of you for being nimble enough to find those opportunities for your business, and also Kimberly for what you do there.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of a small business.
Yeah, absolutely. Tougher to do when you're a bigger ship, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
You both are sharp human beings. You could do anything. Why the music products industry? Other than that, we're all musicians, and it's just what we do.
It's fun. It's easy. It doesn't feel like work.
There was a big eye roll there.
I think it shows us. I think it shows us.
Well, I know, but we talk about this a lot, and I think you brought this up. I think you just brought this up this morning or last night or something. Because every once in a while, I'm like, we could make so much more money doing something else, right? We could just make a killing doing something else. But we love what we do, and also it aligns with what we feel our life purpose is, and our philosophy on living and how we want to live our life.
Yeah, that's that you could etch that onto I think one of those statements above a fireplace. That's pretty much that's as good as it gets in work.
Well, we done a picture and we put it on Instagram once. Remember, every once in a while I get inspired. Like, we're going to do a picture, Kimberly. We're going to do a picture. She's like, okay. So we put on these hats and these sunglasses, and we pose out. Remember, out in the front. Yes. And I got a big board, and I said, what did I say? We didn't choose the music life. The music life chose us. And we're like, oh. And she's holding a French horn, all tough.
But what I love about that, Robin, is I think of so many of us are musicians. And I had somebody once say to me, so that's your hobby. And it's like, it's not a hobby.
my
It's
life.
not a hobby. It's a lifestyle. It's much bigger than a hobby. And it's one of those things that we're all very passionate about, and it leads us to some extent. Speaking of leadership, by the way, I'm just saying, hold on, put that in the frame. My alma mater, Music Inc. magazine, they don't give this to everybody. There is our own Robin on the cover of a Women in the Music Industry issue. Pretty cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
stop.
let's not forget, we also have Ms. Deverell there as well.
Thanks.
Quick question about leadership. One of the other, I think, tenets of a good business is to create paths of mentorship. Who are your mentors? Who are your mentors? And I know you probably have we've all learned a lot from each other in this industry. Who would you cite?
I'll go.
You want to go?
You want to go first? You want to go first?
I think it's going to be a really big shocker here. But this woman, and I say this till the day that I die, I've worked with her for 25 years. I was a child, essentially, when I started working at this business. And her leadership style has allowed me to grow in ways beyond anything I could have ever expected in my life. So she's taught me so much. She's allowed me to make my own path. And to make lots of mistakes along that path. She has empowered me to become who I am today. I really don't think I would be where I am today if not for her guidance. I would say you're a visionary.
Well, that's a very strong word.
Yeah.
I've never been called a visionary before.
Yeah, you look at the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely don't lead in an authoritarian style. I think you let us, and this is how Robin runs it with everybody here, is we just find our strengths and she lets us make our own path that way. So I just can't think of anybody else I look up to more in this industry than this lady right here. She's my best friend.
What's cool about that, Kimberly, is you both complement each other too. So you learned a lot from her, but you bring particular skills to the table as well. Robin, how about you?
I'd have to say my parents really played a big role in how I grew as a business person. They were always business owners. So I never knew my parents to go off to a job and then come home and be done for the day. I think somebody had mentioned what's like a hacker mentality. You're kind of working all around the clock, but you're also, putting in family time and everything there too. So people think, oh, you're always working. And it's just, if I'm up at 2 a.m. for whatever reason, and I feel like sending off an email, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But then, maybe I'll take a nap. Maybe. But just growing up in that environment where my parents had to do payroll and we had office supplies and there were employees and managing things, that I grew up in that. So it was great mentorship. And I don't know if parents really realize how much their children learn from their parents' example, from how they work and what they do for a job, and how the parents react when they come home from that job. Are they happy? Are they not happy? How do they handle work conflict? I think it's really important as a parent to lead your life the way you would want to have your children lead their lives.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they don't always know the impact they're having on us in the short and long term. So very interesting. San Diego Music Studio, we've talked a bit about it. I think BJ gave probably in some ways the coolest validation of your work with his experience.
Let me just say, I compacted it up, but I really missed those award-winning moments. I wanted to let you guys share them because you have some amazing awards and accolades that you've won over the years. And I don't mean to hijack the conversation, but I really want you guys to talk about those too, because everything you've put together for the store has been recognized and it deserving this recognition in multiple years. One that comes to mind is the NAMM Top 100 Dealer Award, which you've won consecutively since 2013. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's a testament to the store and the environment you built there. And I love these comments about I'm sorry, I'm hijacking this conversation because they're so inspiring. I follow you right along with what you said exactly about parents having impact on their kids, and that's one thing that terrifies me as a dad, is like, what am I doing that could negatively, I don't mean to, but if it negatively impacts my kids, you have that presence of mind where, you're affecting people all the time. And I mean, just listening to Kimberly talk about how you've affected her career and how that has played out too. It's very inspiring to me to see this conversation. Sorry, now I'm gushing, so I apologize about that. But I just want to say this is a great conversation, and I hope you guys talk more about the awards that you've won too. I know it's okay to humble brag. It's okay.
So, BJ, we have to say this since we're having a little bit of fun here. Speaking of these two being inspiring, one of the things we were talking about earlier is apparently they were on a Zoom call with some of our friends, a Nashville retailer, and they laughed and this retailer got a screenshot of them that's now that retailer's computer wallpaper, because they found the conversation in the moment so inspiring and joyful. So that's it's funny, but I think about that as much as I live probably 20 minutes from your business and I hear more about the business and I've experienced it a bit as a customer, there's a lot going on there too. And we will get to those stories because I think there's so much to talk about. When we talk about San Diego Music Studio, I think it's important for people to understand exactly what this is who aren't in San Diego, because I often think that people have a preconceived notion of what a music retailer is. And there are more varieties of music retailers, I think, or there are as many as there are musicians. There's many models as there are musicians and sort of, fish in the sea. I think that I look at your business, and in terms of what you do, you offer group lessons. You rent instruments to students in school music programs. I know you have a big ukulele business and a reed business as well. Am I capturing this correctly? It's a lot more than that, but just in terms of the big services, does that sound about right?
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff. It's all out there.
Of course, I hope that came through. They have a lot of stuff.
And the good part of the day is where are we going to put the stuff? And some of the stuff is making its way into my condo, and it's not pretty.
Okay, but you're doing something right, because I pulled this from Facebook. Again, I'm going to embarrass you both a second time. This is from your Facebook page. A customer wrote this. This store cares about you, about your kid, about their school's music program, and they will do everything they can to make your experience the best that they can provide. Years of piano lessons, over a decade of supporting our school district's band and orchestras, and a team of employees who are knowledgeable and friendly, make this little shop the absolute best in all of North County, San Diego, or dare I say, the county. Love them. That pretty much says it all. That's the essence of what you do. Let me ask both of you, what do you think is the most important work that you do?
Can I start?
Sure.
I think the most important work that we do is establishing a musical family within this community. That is the absolute core of what we do. So people that leave reviews like that, we know their kids, we know them. We teach kids from when they're yay tall to when they go off to college, and then they come back around.
We've had students that I taught that now I'm teaching their kids.
Yes.
I mean, that I know I'm not old enough.
They come in and we're like, wait a minute. What do you mean you're driving? Oh, wait, you're getting married.
Wait, I'm like, oh, you're graduating from high school. Oh, college.
I know. One of the moms came in and said, oh, so-and-so, she's having a baby. And we're like, oh, she's 24. And we're like, well, okay, I guess that's
I remember kids at the age that they come into the studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a hard time, following them as they get older.
It's
again, we just stay the same age.
Hey, those people are kids at a very young age. That's what it comes down to. That's all it is.
Yeah, but we get really involved with these families, and even some of them who haven't been at the studio for a while, like the kids are off to college, they don't take music anymore. The parents still follow us and interact with us online, and it's so nice to see that.
couple weeks ago, I was out of school and I ran into a mom whose daughter was in college and had taken guitar lessons with us for a long time. And she went to one of the local elementary schools. When she was in second grade, she was struggling, just really having a hard time in school. And her school music teacher told her parents, you should put her in music lessons. It'll help her focus. And the mom was telling me the story, and I hadn't seen her in years. And she said that the second that she enrolled her in lessons here, that her daughter's life completely changed. And she started just doing really well in school, and, ended up graduating top of her class. And it was just a testament to what we do. She thanked me. I love it when we have that sort of interaction with our community, and it happens all over the place. We were at Old Cal.
We were at Old Cal, and Tommy came up. You totally are you talking about Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, because there are other times. And Tommy came up and he interrupted us, and I absolutely remember teaching him, right?
Yeah.
He was so good at guitar. And I thought, oh, he's so good. And he has such a terrible guitar. And one of the things that we love to do is connecting people in the community with each other, because we're all about the connection, because that's what we feel strengthens the community. And so somebody had donated a guitar. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Somebody had donated a guitar. And I was like, I know exactly who this guitar needs to go to. And so we presented it to him. And I think you found the old pictures of him, right?
Yeah.
And he was so grateful for it. And then what did he say?
He came up to us. He's finishing up college. Was he?
A psychoneuro something sounds really hard, but at UCLA.
But he thanked us. He said that really had a huge impact on his life, and that his parents couldn't afford to get him a nicer guitar, and that it just made a huge impact on him. And he wanted to donate an instrument that he had back to us so that we could pass it along to another student in the studio. So it's all full circle, right?
Wow.
We call it, I'm stealing this because everybody says this, we call it play it forward.
Yeah.
So that happens to us all the time.
Yeah.
After this many years in business, we run into people all the time that tell us how we have made an impact on their lives,
Right.
made a difference. So
I don't think people realize sometimes what a big deal it is to have an involved community business like that, especially with a discipline as just intimate to people and important to people as music. That's one of those things. It's like, because of you, there are probably thousands of new musicians out there, period.
yes.
It's tens of thousands. So big deal, very big deal. One
Very
of the
feel-
other things, sorry, go ahead.
I just said it's very feel good.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I'm going to brag for both of you. I think you've also done an incredible job at taking something like a business, a community music business, and almost turning it into a music advocacy vehicle in so many ways, in terms of literally advocating for music education in Washington, D.C., to keep music in schools and healthy in schools, to even helping students and band programs locally. I'd like to dive into that for a minute because, again, we could probably cover 2 or 3 hours on that. This is a business about changing lives, and in essence, that's what you're doing. I think about one of the stories of a changed life and group of people through music with you, Bryce, and the gift you made to the school district. This is a tough story, but I think it's worth sharing. Would you mind digging into that a little bit and telling us about that?
Yeah. It's like a bittersweet story, obviously.
Well, I want to start when I was in the band class and we had that new teacher come in.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So we had, so every once in a while we have to, work in a new teacher, and we had a new band teacher come in. And, I came in and I asked the kids, I'm like, so how was the teacher? And this kid's like, well, he was a little bit this, a little bit like that. And da-da-da. And it was like a full on Yelp review on the teacher right there on the spot. And I'm sitting there and he's little. And I'm like, okay, really good stuff. Thank you. And I walked back out and I said, this kid. And they're like, oh, everybody at the studio's like, Bryce. Yeah, that's him. And I was like, oh, okay. Amazing personality. And, we've taught thousands and thousands of kids, and you can really tell when someone resonates with you and somebody is on the same path as you. And we could just tell this kid was gonna be a band musician kid.
He was a 100% a future music educator in the making.
Absolutely amazing personality, super super special.
And he'd been taking lessons with us for about 5 years, and he played everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he was our student of the month, and I asked him to bring in his instrument, and he brought in 5 instruments.
He's like, wait, I play this one too. Wait, I play this one too.
We took a photo of him with, his bassoon and alto sax and clarinet, and he played piano, and he was exactly the type of kid that, I think every music teacher wants to work with.
Yeah.
He was really special and dear to us. And his family was in a pretty bad car accident, and he was killed by a drunk driver. He was 14 years old.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, we were together when she got the call.
You just have to wonder why it happens to somebody like that whose future is so bright. He's just a bright star in this world, and he would have continued to change people's lives. But we're still very.
What did you do? There was a little bit of a redemption here. What did you do to honor him?
So we were thinking, we feel like it's when somebody's in this world and you can influence other people. We think about all the children that we were able to teach, and we felt like Bryce missed out on tens of thousands of other kids that would have learned music. And we wanted to do something, and it doesn't even feel like enough at all. But we did go to the school board. We went to the school board,
mm-hmm.
and his mom actually came too. And it was so weird. She showed us, Bryce had had written a few months before what he wanted his legacy to be. Because the kids were thinking about what do you want to do for your future, and what he wanted to do is he wanted to teach music, and he had written that down on there that that's what he wanted to do. So what we decided to do is to donate free repair work to all of the instruments in the schools for any of the kids that needed them done, and and that kind of goes back with David Montoya also. And a lot of the other kids that we know, we want access. We want people to have access to music. And they have these band instruments. Boy, we've seen some come in and they're like wrapped with string instead of cork. And actually one of the first people that came in to get their instrument repaired for free,
mm-hmm.
through the Bryce Legacy repair thing, is this one girl. She just totally crushed that bell. Yeah. And the kids they know they're using a school property, but accidents happen. And so we said, if you have a school instrument, no questions asked, just bring it in and we'll go ahead and we'll fix it for free. And that's just our way of honoring Bryce as best we can.
What's so cool about that is I didn't know this young man, my loss, but I imagine that's exactly what he would have wanted. That's exactly what he wanted. And I'm going to humble brag for both of you. People may not realize that that's a really big deal what you're doing, and that's a lot of labor. That's an incredible amount of labor that you're putting into those instruments to celebrate him. That's the value of a community business right there.
We're able to.
Yeah.
And you're able to.
Yeah, we are. Our community supports us as well.
Right.
So absolutely. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Absolutely.
I went to school in this town, K through 12. So those are my schools. I taught music in those schools. These are my people.
Absolutely. It's funny too. We talk about schools, and we all have stories. I was a product of my school music system. So many of us are. One of the things we do at NAMM, and for those who don't know, NAMM, the National Association of Music Merchants, is the kind of umbrella organization. The Museum of Making Music is part of that. We're very involved in advocating for music education in Washington, D.C. to keep it strong in the schools. Kimberly, I'd mentioned earlier, you're sort of the model advocate. You've done a lot locally and nationally with that. I'm just going to ask this, when I did the trip in 2008, when NAMM was still relatively new to it, to report on it for Music Inc. magazine, the trade magazine I edited at the time. And my first thought was, that's what lobbyists do? That was it? And I think that this process that felt totally alien to me and I felt kind of isolated from, suddenly didn't feel that way. What's your experience been like, advocating for music education, going to Washington, representing the state of California and doing that?
That's a big question, Zach.
We got a half hour. I'm just saying.
You have to tell the story about how you showed the video of the parents and the.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Okay,
you have to remind me. So,
Refresher, Robin.
my first fly-in was in 2016, and I remember being very intimidated by the process. Yeah, and then like you said, after I did it, it felt incredible, and it wasn't as overwhelming or as difficult as people might think it is, because one thing I've learned over the years is that they work for us, right? We are their constituents. And so requesting meetings and emailing them and calling our representatives is what we are supposed to do. Yeah, the first year it was a learning process for me. But I remember coming home from that experience, which by the way was absolutely life-changing, I think, for me and for this business. And I remember thinking, okay, how can I use this to help the students and the teachers in these districts, and also, somehow use it to help grow our business. And ultimately I thought, okay, if I can help them get funding for their programs, it'll all feed back, eventually will probably feed back into the store in some way, shape, or form. And if it did, great. If it didn't, I wasn't doing it, it wasn't a transactional purpose. I was really hoping to help. And once I got involved, it all went downhill from there. I don't know.
It went uphill from there.
It all went uphill from there.
It went forward.
It went forward. Lots of inertia.
It went somewhere.
Initially I was, very involved with trying to bring the Title IV Part A funds to schools, which is it's a SSAEG, Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant. And it was new money that had been introduced into law, I think at the end of 2015. And it was money that was specifically set aside for music and arts programs to create a well-rounded education. And so I thought, well, these teachers are so involved in their teaching, they're in the weeds, and they don't necessarily have the time or the energy to keep up on policy. So I just made it my mission to make sure that every teacher, whether I work with them or not, knows that these funds are available. I held advocacy meetings. I mean, I'm that positively persistent girl that I don't stop, until you know what it is that I want you to know.
Or you do what she wants you to do.
Well, that too. And, a lot of these schools that I work with were able to successfully access those funds that they wouldn't have otherwise known about, to go to their administration and say, hey, this money, it was new money. It was really interesting to see nobody knew what to do with that money, because there had never been this bill, this law before supporting that. So it kind of started with that, and then it just exploded from there. In terms of, I just like to be a resource. I like to help my teachers. I develop really, really deep-seated relationships with them. I know what instruments they play. I know, their children's names. I know a lot about my teachers, and I've just developed some very trusting relationships and networks. And most recently, I was able to help a lot of districts secure, or actually say music programs secure, the ESSER funding that was made available, ESSER 1, 2, and 3 in the last year. It's COVID relief money used to basically bridge the learning gap loss. And so, I just feel like it all has come full circle. I help them, and then they in turn work with us. And it's just this really beautiful ecosystem that we have going.
Yes.
And what's so cool about this, Kimberly, the thing that's so inspiring about this, you're just a citizen who wanted to get involved.
Yeah.
A local business and a citizen who cared about this. And you dug in a little bit. You dug in a lot, but sometimes it doesn't take quite as much as that even. You're sort of the model citizen with this, but people don't realize that it's there for the taking. We can help.
Advocacy is super easy, okay? It's literally being informed and sharing your knowledge with your network, right? And you can take that as far as you want. You can send an email out to everybody. You can tell a customer when they walk in the store. You can have a petition that people can sign for various law.
Whatever.
Well, there's a new one that's out right now that I'm really particularly interested in that we're trying to get onto the ballot that will give every K through 12 school an extra full-time employee, basically funds for an extra full-time for music and arts specifically. So that's sort of my new mission that I'm working on, is getting signatures for that so we can get that on the ballot in November. But it just, I was on the NAMM webinar this morning for policy. It's just being informed and then literally just sharing that information. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C. to advocate. You can advocate right in your business.
Yeah. And sometimes the most effective, I just had to inject this because I think this is important. Yeah. Some of the most effective advocacy, it can be local and state advocacy like that. It doesn't have to be national.
Right. I would say that doing this has legitimized the store. I get a lot of business just because music educators appreciate that we are out there fighting the good fight for them.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I know I've said this a lot, but everything just seems to come full circle.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And what's cool is that, I remember when we would go to knock on doors of members of Congress, first question we'd ask, hey, look, we're here on behalf of NAMM.
Right.
What instrument do you play? Oh, I play piano in my spare time. And suddenly there's a conversation.
Absolutely.
Because this is a universal language. Music's a universal language.
And usually they're happy to talk about music because I'm not there to try and, it's a pretty bipartisan issue.
The day becomes partisan, something's really wrong. That's for sure.
Do you mind if I ask a question? If I maybe take this a further down the road too, because basically, I mean, you've got a torch. You've got this torch you're carrying, and it's burning bright. I mean, you have the energy to keep that torch lit, no matter if it's pouring down rain. How, if you were to, let's say, help, other people in your community, help get that torch lit, what advice would you give people? I mean, you kind of covered it a little bit. Like advocacy, we think it's harder than it actually is, and you just said it's super easy. And like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You just got to do it and get used to it. What other advice out there would you give to, like, maybe say parents or community leaders? Like for me up in Temecula, like, hey, BJ, try doing this with your local community to get to pass the torch that we lit over here and spread that light and spread that fire.
That's a great question, BJ.
Yeah, I think a great thing to do is definitely get the parents involved. Parents are a great resource when you want to get something done, because especially at the school level, because they have a lot of power, right? So they're the ones that go to the school board meetings and talk to the superintendent and talk to the principals, administrators. They have power to make things happen. So if you can get your parents fired up about it and just give them a little bit of information, they can be kind of dangerous.
Effective.
Dangerous in a really good way. I read a lot. I follow a lot. I hate the news actually, but I follow a lot of, I go to the NAMM Advocacy and Issues page and I read that a lot. I just talk. I like to talk. I like to talk to people, and I like to share the information that I have. With parents at school programs, schools are always, music education programs are always looking for more money. So if you can get a couple of parents that are an easy way to get more funding for the program, you start recruiting those parents and having them go out there and get the money. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. As a band dad, I see that quite a bit. So yeah, and there, you get the parents who are super passionate about programs. So I see exactly what you're talking about, and they're the ones that drive that, the tip of the spear deeper into what they care about and making sure that happens. So yeah, great advice.
Yeah,
Kimberly's going to be knocking on your door pretty soon, BJ. I'm just saying, local San Diego band parent.
I'm sorry, Kimberly, what was that?
It affects their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they want what's best for their kids.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, thank you.
sure.
It's a great question. It's fantastic. And by the way, I see that, speaking of questions, we've gotten some questions coming in. We're going to get to those, some good ones here. But first, one other project I'd like to ask about, speaking of the kind of the ways in which your business contributes to the community, is the Ukulele Project. Care to kind of give us a little bit of a download us on what that is, what it's about?
Okay, so I can't remember how it started, but it was a phone call in the middle of the night. I can't remember if I called you. Did I call you?
Yes.
I did call you. So it was one of those, I guess you know how I work now. So yeah, middle of the night phone call. And then of course I messaged my mom, and she called me back right away. She knew something was important because she said, it's the middle of the night in America. My mother's in the Philippines, and she works a lot with the kids in the neighborhood there. With clothing, giving them lunch or snacks and that sort of thing. And I've always wanted to do something like this. I don't know, helping kids at risk. And I don't know where it came from, but I suddenly thought about, what if I somehow connect people from here with kids in the Philippines? And I always think about, we donate so much. Like we'll donate money and everything, but we don't know where it goes to. And I thought, well, it would be really great, and I think the donors would really appreciate this, if they could actually have an instrument that they donate to a child, and they know like who the child is, like where this instrument actually went. So I thought about what instrument would be good in the Philippines. Violin, not good. All the band instruments, it's just too problematic. And I thought, well, the ukulele would be great because it's small. I can teach young children it. It's fairly easy to play. And so I started collecting ukuleles from donors here. We have a ukulele club that meets here every Saturday. And they would have a ukulele, and then I would take the ukulele to the Philippines and hold a class and teach the children how to play.
Wow.
And my mom would help recruit the kids from the neighborhood. And so some of the neighborhoods would be in the city, and some of them would be just way, way, way out there in the country where I don't even know if they have electricity or anything like that. But I went there and I traveled there. I think it was like 30 ukuleles the first time. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, she's like, you don't speak the language. I'm like, okay. And boy, within like 20 minutes, I had them all in groups. I had my little more advanced group working on Happy Birthday. Some of them are still working on Mary Had a Little Lamb. And they've really taken off on it. And so I've been back there, 2-3 times? I think three times. Cool. Yeah. And then, my last trip, of course, I wasn't able to go because of 2020, but that's what we do.
Fascinating. And you'd also mentioned, Robin, this kind of music as mental health mission permeating a lot of San Diego Music Studios work per COVID. Any obvious manifestations of that, or is it a little bit of everything we're talking about?
Well, I don't know. I think we should talk about that one student that came in. The adult student. Yeah, we had an adult student who came in. Yeah, I think everybody went through it, obviously, and a lot of people played music during COVID Kimberly and I actually would just send each other video. She would play a song and she'd send it to me, and I'd play a song and send it to her. And it was really bad. We didn't have much else to do except run this place and play music for each other. And, I text her late at night, "Is your husband asleep? I want to send you something." It was pretty bad.
We got really close.
We got really
COVID.
close during COVID. That's a beautiful song. I love it. And I played more music during COVID than I ever had before, and it was amazing. And it really brought me back to my roots from when I was a teenager, and just how music helped me, manage my emotions and keep me balanced and everything. And we did our best teaching online. When students started coming back, we did have an adult student that came in, and I remember her husband came in and was very, he was checking everything. He was really, just making sure what the prices, what the classes were like, what the environment was like, what we were like. And then he said, "Okay, I'm going to be bringing her in." And yes. And we were like, "Oh, okay." Well, when she came in, there was just something about her. We all kind of stopped and thought, okay, we need to be very careful with her. She's fragile. And she came in and she was so scared and just had so much trauma.
We were literally the first place she had been in 4 months, 5 months. I mean, she hadn't stepped out of her door.
And she had 2 young boys, and they're great boys, but they're boys. And they have energy. They have energy.
They're young. They're young. Full of life.
They're full of life. Super intelligent, great personalities. And they are just.
She was stuck with them for 4 months.
And yeah, and she's also a teacher, and it was just too much. And so we had this woman come in, and she was just, I don't know, I felt she was so broken. And then after a few months, she's taking piano, and
she warmed up a lot.
She warmed up
very quickly. She's extremely musical. Went from
super
piano
smart.
To cello to now guitar and ukulele.
She's so funny. She's so funny and witty. It's an entirely different person.
And they're literally, her entire family is taking lessons here. The mom, the husband, and the 2 boys, they all take lessons here several times a week, and they've really become like a member of our family.
Right.
So it was really great to see her come out of her shell.
Right.
And she felt comfortable here with us because we make everybody feel like family that walks into the store.
Right.
There
was a lot of that. So we decided to share that with the community and really push forward with this idea of music for mental health. And so what we did is we have students who explain how music has helped them during or post-COVID with their mental health. It's a really, really important issue right now. And it's interesting to see all of their different points of view as to how music had helped them.
We've shared one a day. If you go look at our Facebook page, you can see, like, we've been doing it since February 1st.
Right.
So lots of people's lives that have been made better.
Well, and it's funny, it dovetails into a question we got, which I think I know the answer to now that we're talking about this, and that is, since you've been doing this so successfully for so long, how do you deal with burnout? I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to put you both on the spot with that one.
Who's burnout? Like you burning out or me burning out?
Do we look like you burned out?
I ran away to law school. That's what I did.
I challenge you to find a picture or anything of us where we are not smiling and full of energy.
Right. There's a
you.
teachable moment here. I think we need to know, is the secret both of your dispositions? Is it the sort of ever-evolving nature of your business and the kind of the inspirational nature of it based on what we've been talking about?
100%. I think it's a freedom we have. I think it's the freedom we have. I don't think that there have been times I felt like you were burning out on teaching. She was burning out on teaching at one point. And
on
I'm
the computer for 10 hours a day.
No, way before that. That. And then I was like, well, then don't teach, do something else. It's not like, well, I mean, we do need teachers here. We need tuition and everything. But the whole entire idea is if we can have the freedom to do what we want, we're not going to have burnout.
Well, that's probably part of the reason why I change my job every couple of years.
Chief non-burnout specialist.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, do something different, change it up.
So much of what we do brings us so much joy. This doesn't
Cool.
feel like work.
Mm-mm.
And it's so cliche, but
Yeah.
it's true. There's so many feel good moments here. I don't know that I ever have a day where I don't want to be here and be involved. And I never wake up and say I don't want to go to work. It doesn't feel like work.
No, we love being here.
Yeah. It's a super positive. We've got a great culture, got a great staff, great family, great community, educated, everybody. I cannot complain. And like she mentioned, to reference the freedom that we have, there's a lot of days where I'll get here on a Monday and I have no idea what my week is going to look like. And I open up my computer and then it's full of really positive and exciting and fun things.
Cool.
I get a lot of joy out of.
You're getting a lot of validation.
Of
You see very quickly how your work's impacting people.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
And even the things that are supposedly not fun, like bookkeeping, turn out to be really funny after a while, right?
We joke that it would be fun if we could do like a reality show here.
I would, if that were on HBO Max, I'd renew my membership tomorrow. I'm just saying. That's so.
I was trying to find the plug for the computer right before this, and I thought, I had to go underneath Kimberly's desk. I'm like, what is this accordion doing here? She had an accordion under her desk.
And something else you mentioned the word culture. We haven't talked about this as much, but one of the questions, I'm going to put you both on the spot again because I know you can handle it. This is something we've talked about before. Leadership style. You mentioned staff, you mentioned culture. Just how would you describe your leadership styles?
Who do you want to have answer that? My leadership style or your leadership
Well,
style?
your leadership style has evolved over the years. I talked about your leadership style at the very beginning of this a little bit. I think you're a visionary.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think that's a leadership style.
Well, it is. And you have...
I have a method. You want me to explain?
You're coaching. Yeah.
It's kind of like this. So you have an employee and you can talk and you can talk and you can talk and you can talk. Okay. But people don't listen. I mean, we know that. We teach music, right? They just don't. So, and the way we teach is a lot the way we lead. And a lot of it has to do with doing. So
leading by example.
Yeah. So first you lead by example, then you lead with them doing it with you. And then you lead with them leading and you following. And then sometimes you need to retrain and have somebody come alongside you again. And then also you need to empower people. I remember saying so many times in the beginning, I trust you to make an executive decision. Whatever decision you make on this, I will stand by your decision. And I think that's an empowering moment for all of my employees. I remember when I said that to you.
Yes.
Remember when I said that to David. It's one of those moments where because they're too scared to choose. Of course, I always give them something where I don't care which way it goes. So it's okay if they mess it up. But they're so frozen. I don't know. Should I get this size paper or this color paper? And I'm like, you're going to make an executive decision, and I will stand by that decision.
The other thing that's interesting about that, Robin, is I think that also, I apologize for interrupting, but I was just thinking, it also subtly forces the person to really think about that decision then and make sure they're making the best decision with the information they have, because they're the owner's entrusting them with that at that point.
Right. And and the more they work with you, the more they know what you're going to say anyways. So there's times when like Kimberly will ask and she goes, well, I'm going to ask, I know what you're going to say. And I'll be like this. She goes, yeah, I know you were going to say that.
Sometimes I want you to feel like the boss.
Thanks. I don't know. I seem to recall like about a year ago, I was in that office and I heard you talking to some band booster. And I thought to myself, did she just tell them she was going to give them XYZ thousands of dollars? And she just wrote a check right then and there without asking me. You remember that?
I do.
She's turning red.
Can I get on the conversation? I'm a band booster. Can I?
It's easier to
I'll be there tomorrow.
Permission.
She's like, I knew you would say yes. And I'm like, God, but just ask me first.
I will be there tomorrow. Get the checkbook ready.
There's something you said for like symbolic gestures, just. Okay, but Robin, this is interesting. I actually, in our conversations, I picked that up too, Kimberly, that Robin's a visionary. Kimberly, in terms of complimenting each other, you strike me as kind of not sure what the leadership type would be, like the coach, the motivator.
Yeah,
You
coaching,
energize people.
absolutely, growth mindset. I'm a big believer in leading by example and getting in there and doing it with them.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely don't carry. I carry a soft stick. it's you know.
I feel like she's a woman. She has that lasso, you know. She's
You know, everybody thinks I'm nice, but I'm nice until I'm not.
Yeah.
It's an initial feeling of niceness, but I just feel like I don't know. Over the years, I feel like I've been manipulated by her.
I don't know what she's talking
She's
about.
saying that. But you know what? I do have this time when I absolutely remember when Kimberly came onto her own. And we were at the old building.
Mhm.
And there was something with the point of sale system that I had done one way all the time. And then I came in and I'm like, it changed. I came in, I'm like, why is this changed? Why are we doing this way? It should be this way. She came down the stairs and she said, no, Robin, it's going to be this way. And let me tell you why. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, well, she just bossed me around. And you know what? She's on this point of sale system a lot more than me. So sure, that's the way it's going to be. And it's still that way. And it worked out. But I felt like she really had the confidence to come up against me and say, no, I know you're saying it's this way and it really should be this way. And, you know, we need pushback like that as a leader. You can't have people saying yes to you all the time.
Yeah.
There needs to be a little bit, you know, a little bit of friction.
Friction's always.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We can have different points of view and we don't always agree.
No.
The longer I do this, the more I realize disruption even within a business, when it's respectful, tends to lead to innovation, or at bare minimum, some really powerful iteration, even if it's uncomfortable at the moment, as long as it's respectful. But it is tricky to be in those situations. So yeah. Absolutely.
I think we have stuff that we disagree on that have still been on the back burner for years. And every once in a while we revisit it and it comes up and I'm, you know, and then sometimes somebody comes in with a different point of view. And then all of a sudden, then I agree.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah, it was a great perspective. And then I put her in charge of it. And now, where is it?
So BJ, we're going to bring you back in a moment. There's so much to talk about here. I think we covered a lot. There's a lot more we could cover. First, on a personal note, I'd like to give a shout out to the great Carolyn Grant, the executive director.
Yay.
Yay.
A happy birthday to Carolyn, my fellow Pisces.
Happy birthday, Carolyn.
Happy birthday, Carolyn. If we had more time, we would do a 4-part harmony and sing. But,
hey, happy belated to you, Zach.
Yeah.
Your birthday was yesterday.
Well, maybe we could sing. I'm just saying, you know.
We sing. Do you want us to sing?
Musical podcast.
We started off.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zach. Happy birthday to you.
Yay!
This blushing is just my natural color. I was out in the sun all weekend. Thank you both. This has been an incredible conversation. I think we'll have to do a part 2 at some point if they'll have us back. But I'd like to kind of direct this to BJ because, of course, we are doing this on behalf of the Museum of Making Music. And let's kind of have a final word about the ecosystem of our industry because that's been such a thread in this conversation. BJ, over to you.
Thanks, Zach. Yeah, so we always like to relate these conversations and tie it back to the museum, where we explore, the making of the instruments, the providing of the instruments, using of the instruments, and then we actually explore beyond the instruments when they take on meaning just more than themselves, more than just something that is a vehicle for making music, which in and of itself is an amazing thing. But as far as where your story kind of fits in is that providing the instruments, being the channel between when a maker creates an instrument like a guitar or a flute or a clarinet, and you have this person over here who may not know how to use it yet or may not know it exists, and you're the channel, the glue that binds all this together. And in the museum, we discuss this and we explore this concept through the lens of time. So back in the 1890s, you might have had a piano gallery where the experience would be you personally invite the customer in and you interview them where the piano is going in their home. And that has changed over time as social norms have changed over time too. But we like to look at like what the modern retail is experiencing. And from your perspective, what is one of your favorite experiences that you provide at San Diego Music Studio that really engages your customers and really gives you the best ability to be providers of musical instruments and the musical experience?
Okay, so one of our favorite things to do is, we do have a very special purpose, I think, as a music retailer, and that is obviously introducing students to their first instrument. A lot of times they come in and they've never touched an instrument, seen an instrument, played an instrument before, so we get that first opportunity to show them. So I personally love when we do our instrument petting zoos.
Oh, it's my favorite.
It's my favorite time of year. You get a kid that's never played a saxophone before and you stick a saxophone in their mouth and they honk on it. And they sound like a goose. But
they're so happy.
They're so happy. They got a sound out. Like you can just see the joy in their face, the expression, the excitement about music, and you can see how excited their parents are at seeing their child make music, and it's it just that we have the ability to foster that and see that and nurture it. So that for me that's something that we do very regularly around here, and I never get tired of it, and it always brings me a lot of joy seeing a kid make their first sound on an instrument.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. When somebody had done a shout out on social media, I think it was one of those Nextdoor apps or something, we ran across it. It was some kid like running down the street with a trombone. He should not have been running down the street with a trombone. We never do that. But he was making so much noise. And the parent had remarked, yeah, thanks, San Diego Music Studio.
Nice.
To bring it back to the museum, I'm kind of on a Brandi Carlile kick right now. And one of my favorite songs is that she does. It's called The Story. I don't know if you've heard it. It's a beautiful tune. And it says, these stories don't mean anything without, someone to tell them to. And I think that the museum does a beautiful job of telling the story of the retailer. So we really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for everything that you guys do there to bring music to the community as well.
Well, I would be remiss without saying, too, that Robin and Kimberly are actually part of a virtual tour program that the museum has offered. And we have several components that the kids get to experience, because we've had a lot of struggles these past years. And one good thing that has come out of it is this virtual program that allows us to reach well beyond our local walls here. Not everybody can come to Carlsbad and experience the Museum of Making Music, but with this, we teach kids about the science of sound, we teach kids about entrepreneurship, but also their place in the world of music. And you, Robin and Kimberly, have talked about your experiences being involved in the San Diego Music Studio as a place in music. It might not, not all of us are cut out to be music educators. Not all of us are cut out to be professional musicians, but there is a place, and you're there helping kids discover what their places could be. So that's a wonderful possibility that we're able to share out. I think we had 2 virtual tours today where the kids got to learn about where they might wind up in music if they choose to take that path. So thank you for being part of that. And,
thank you. We never say no.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Figure that out right now.
Awesome. Well, I actually, as I'm segueing from one thank you to another, I would like to thank all of you for being on the program today. This has been a wonderful conversation. There's only one other time where I've teared up on a Mom at Home, and that the first time was interviewing at the end of Chris Johnson's interview, where he paid tribute to Breonna Taylor with this just beautiful piece of music that he had, and I was just backstage and like, oh my gosh, I had to come on camera, and I didn't have any. I have a box of tissue now with me at all times, and I didn't have it at that time, so I was like, oh my gosh. And then your story today, it really just impacted me, and it just triggered everything. And as a dad with a teenagers, it hurt a lot, but I was so overcome by how you reacted to that situation and what it means to be integral to your community. I mean, you guys are really just it's unbelievable what you've done, and I appreciate you. And I appreciate you being here and sharing that experience as well as every other experience that you wrapped up in the conversation today. Zach, our guest interviewer today, thank you for taking charge and helping us through this conversation. I would have been bawling had I had to experience that in front of you guys. I'm like, I can't do this. Glad I'm in the background. But anyway, where can folks go to learn about the San Diego Music Studio? Online. You guys have a website address? Come
and see us.
We've had enough with online.
We have popcorn.
Go to the store. Go to the store.
Yeah, we have popcorn. Ukuleles. It's fun. It's really neat to visit because I feel like there's not many stores left like this. I think like in 10 years, this is going to be just a rarity. I really feel already it is.
We are special because
it's an old-fashioned music store, but I mean,
we like to say a mom and mom. Mom and mom store at the mom.
Yeah.
Mom's at the mom. Yeah, but you can also find us, through our website at SanDiegoMusicStudio.com.
We have an advocacy page on that website.
Yes,
awesome.
we do. We have an advocacy. We do. Yeah, and then of course on Facebook and Instagram where we post funny things every once in a while, like my dogs. Your kids.
Giving away a roll of toilet paper.
I know, that was funny. That was great.
Purchased an instrument.
That was great.
Pre-COVID.
or watch Robin and Kimberly panic tune 40 violins.
Auto harps.
Yeah. Oh, the auto harp one. That was actually a really popular post where she and I were tuning auto harps. I guess people wanted
that sounds like a long process.
It was.
That is not a viral video. Probably not in terms of length, popular though it may have been.
That was before things went viral. Go back and watch it.
That was old. That was pre-TikTok, before TikTok.
All right, so if you can't be in San Diego, at least check out the website, check out the advocacy materials, and check out what it sounds like some really cool auto harp tuning lessons. But if you are in town,
there's a lot of fun stuff along the way though.
Well, thank you once again. I'm actually going to take us out, and I want to take a look at what's coming up at the Museum of Making Music, and hopefully we'll see you at the museum. And if not, I have been to the shop a few times to drop off some, I think, labels and exhibit things for San Diego Music Studio. So I hopefully we'll see you sooner than later.
You're a granddad.
Yes, that's going to be forever now. That's going to be forever. Can't get out of there. All right, what do we have coming up at the Museum of Making Music? Let's see. Next weekend, Saturday, March 12th at 7 p.m., we have Tim Bloom, the founder of the Mother Hips, and his newer band, the Coffee Brothers. They're going to be performing at the Museum of Making Music. Tickets are available on our website, www.museumofmakingmusic.org. The following weekend, we are continuing our San Diego Sound Project music series. We're going to welcome young and talented up-and-coming musician Brenda Grigio with her trio. She was part of the Young Lions, one of Gilbert Castellanos' jazz programs that mentors young students, and she has been a just amazing prospect in that program and award-winning young artist, and she's going to be presenting her own original music as well as her own arrangements of popular jazz tunes Saturday, March 19th. And then finally this month, and I don't know if I should share this one, but it doesn't hurt anyway, but we're having Peter Sprague, Angels in the Architecture. I just found out this morning that this program has just sold out. So unfortunately, I could tell you all about it, but I can't give you any tickets because they're gone. He's going to be performing the music of Paul Simon. The program is called Angels in the Architecture, and that's happening Saturday, March 26th at the Museum of Making Music at 7 p.m. Wow. Gosh, today I had a blast. And then we have some kudos coming through on Facebook. Awesome discussion, guys. Thanks from Anna Durbian. And then thank you, Susan, for your questions. And it sounds like the audience can't see you right now, but I can hear you. It sounds like there's some familiarity going on there. Again, I thank our guests, Robin, Kimberly, Zach. I appreciate you all for being on MoMM Home today. And until the next time, I hope to see you all at the Museum of Making Music. And I hope to hear that you've come and visit the San Diego Music Studios and tell us what it's all about. Until then, take care and have a wonderful, wonderful day.